Good day and welcome back to another Dbz Dokkan battle video. In this video we are going to be taking a look at the tech Zamasu or Super Saiyan Rose and Zamasu EZA and their Extreme Z battle that basically you need to complete for the Extreme Z Awakening medals. So obviously it's a new release to global. These guys are pretty strong. I think a lot of people are super chuffed with their EZA overall. And yeah, in general, it's a pretty good EZA. Now the effective categories are going to be Int type units, Extreme and Super, and units that belong to the Battle of Fate category. Now there's a couple ways to actually build this team, but just to quickly briefly cover their passives and everything. They are attack type lead of Ki +4 and HP attack and defense of 120%. They raise attack for 1 turn. And raise defense for 3 turns on their 12 key, raise attack for 1 turn, and defense for 6 turns on their 18 key. They recover 15% HP, have Ki +2 and defense of 50% at the start of turn. They have an additional Ki +2, defense +50%, and guard all attacks for 3 turns from start turn. Then they have attack of 100% when performing a super attack, plus an additional Ki +1 up to +4, and attack and defense of 30% up to 120% with each attack received. So pretty good EZA right off the face of it. Obviously these guys are available from a legendary summon banner, so if you're interested in that, obviously take a look at it. But yeah, in general they are a pretty good unit. So now in terms of team build, there's actually a lot of directions that you can take this category. Not so much in the Battle of Fate direction. Battle of Fate itself is not necessarily the biggest kind of category. It's not necessarily the largest category, but there are some decent options free to play wise. Not too many. Mainly the Super Saiyan God SS Vegito. It's going to be the main free to play unit that you're going to want to use, but you do have some pretty interesting options beyond that. So on the obviously the lead, or what we're going to do is we're going to build around using the Power of Pride and Hope Super Saiyan God SS Vegeta and Super Saiyan Trunks as our friend lead. That's for me, I think, the easiest way if you don't necessarily have your own lead, is to build around them. Of course though, there's plenty of ways you can kind of skin this cat. You can kind of go Realm of the Gods build through the Int Goku, MUI Goku. The issue is here is you do lack a couple LRs. You can go the Legendary Existence route through the Super Saiyan Goku. That's also a pretty solid team. There you have a bit more LRs available to you because of the wider spectrum of that category. Or you can just go like a full LR team under the Super Saiyan God SS Vegito. He obviously will be a pretty solid lead, 120%. But you can just stick a whole bunch of LRs under there. The SS4 units, you know, the Legendary Existence Goku, just pretty much any unit that you want. So there's plenty of ways to build around that. But for me, personally speaking, in terms of like a somewhat more acceptable kind of low-key build, we're going to kind of just prioritize around grabbing some decent int units, and we're going to prioritize around having some pretty solid members of the team that we can obviously build around and kind of just hold down the fort. Generally we're going to rely on the Super Saiyan God SS Vegito, and we're going to rely on the Super Saiyan God SS Vegeta and Trunks to be the unit that for the most part carries the damage workload. Now just a reminder that for all legendary unit Extreme Z Awakenings, you do need to essentially have legendary power active. So legendary power is a pretty important link here. You need to have it active between 2 units for them to be able to issue damage. Basically, if you don't have legendary power active, you're not going to be able to issue damage. So even though you may be able to tank, it's going to take you a very long time to eventually beat the EZA if you don't have units that can deal damage. So you will need to have at least 2 LR units at any point in your team if you are wanting to be able to kind of get through this event. Obviously you could go full bunker build, just go all stacking units and hope that you eventually outbeat the boss in 1,000 turns, but that's not suggested. Firstly, I don't think there's enough options. You'll probably take too much damage, and secondly, it's just a waste of time. So try and obviously coordinate so that you have 2 LR units Obviously, with the free-to-play Vegeta being a LR unit, it is nice to have a pretty decent free-to-play LR option that you can utilize. So yeah, that's basically it. This is the team we're running with. Pretty solid, I'd say, the whole way through. A couple issues. Obviously, the Strength Goku does drop off a little bit. The Tech Kaioken Goku drops off a lot. And you really want to actually stick Vegeta in the second slot, right alongside the Vegeta and the Trunks. And yeah, that is the simple premise, or the relatively simple premise of the team build that I'm using. Obviously, overall, before we just talk about the Tech, Super Saiyan Rose and Zamasu unit for a little bit, obviously you want to prioritize having the Vegeta and the Trunks in the first slot. You then want to have Vegeta in the second slot. You want to have a rotation that is Int Vegeta alongside the Strength Goku. They're going to be the formidable pairing together. And then you're going to float the Tech Kaioken Goku, the MUI Goku, and the Kid Goku. Just an important thing to remember, please. With the Kaioken Goku, prioritize putting him in slots where he's not going to take damage more so than anything else. Near the end of the fight, near the end of this Extreme Z battle, the Goku, the Tech Goku, starts to take quite a lot of damage, like 70k per hit, and it can really kind of derail you, especially early on. So rather place him where he's not going to take the most damage, even if that means breaking up your rotations, ideally not your legendary power based rotation. But yeah, in general, if you are kind of like, I want to say, prioritizing how to get through the event, I would rather put Tech Kaioken Goku in the second slot or wherever he's not going to take damage, more so than just trying to get him off rotation as fast as possible, at least later on. In the beginning, it's fine. If he only picks up, 2 attacks that deal 50k to him, it's not really the end of the world. But yeah, generally speaking, it is something you do want to be a little bit aware of course. But in general, the team does a pretty good job considering how kind of mashed together it is. You 100% can build a better team. Of that, I have no doubt. But it's always nice to kind of create these mismatched teams, I guess, or to show at least some kind of alternative solution if players don't necessarily have always the best units, or even have like a second summonable LR. Is generally how I try to build these teams. So yeah, obviously the Trunks and the Vegeta, they carry a lot. Like they're going to carry almost all of the workload in terms of damage, in terms of tanking. They're like just your go-to unit basically. Beyond that, there's not too much else you need to be aware of. Like I said, try and prioritize orbs as well for Goku, especially over Vegeta. Vegeta has type advantage and is more than fine throughout the majority of the event. But Goku, if you get orbs, you will notice a sizable difference in his overall performance. So I 100% do suggest that you rather prioritize Goku getting orbs over Vegeta. It's just going to end up with him doing a lot better as a unit and not suffering so much damage, which is helpful. It is something that is of course helpful. It's not something you want to experience basically. So yeah, and that's pretty much it. The priority is to link your Vegeta with your Trunks and Vegeta. Something I didn't really try to do in this first round, but it is definitely mandatory if you want to take on the later stages. So obviously now we'll skip ahead, we'll go straight to stage 10, and I've kind of discussed the strategy enough, so we'll just kind of talk about LR Rose Zamasu for a little bit, and obviously his or their EZA. So yeah, obviously we're at stage 10, they're immune to sealing now, immune to stunning, immune to interruption, immune to attack and defense lowering. All of that stuff is pretty stock standard at level 10, so shouldn't be anything too surprising whatsoever. And all of the strategies in the team has remained the same. We haven't made any adjustments whatsoever, so you can basically take all the information I've given you and you should be able to run pretty solid, like pretty solid showing. So in terms of their EZA overall, I think it's a pretty good Extreme Z Awakening. Obviously, it's a huge increase defensively for the unit. Now, previously they had no defense baked into their passive, and now they have quite a large amount of defense baked into their passive, which is generally speaking pretty good. I think, for the most part, units that go from no defense to a lot of defense tend to shine brightest, and their link set also helps them with that, big bad bosses, etc. So they just in general are a pretty good looking unit. In total, their total defense boost is 340 to 230% defense, starting from the turn in which they receive their 4th attack, depending obviously if you still have the additional 3 turn defense of 50% stack up. The big thing is how their super attacks actually work is the more important thing. How they raise defense by 30% for 6 turns, and you can overlap those stacks. So by raising your defense, for 1 turn, and then entering the next turn, raising your defense again, and then they can still raise their defense on the 3rd turn, or the 3rd rotation. So it's pretty imperative, or pretty impressive, that they can raise stacks so many times. And any additionals will kind of bake into that. So you can see these guys get to pretty high defensive stats, which is a nice change from obviously where they were at. As a unit, they didn't have a large form of defense at all. In fact, they had like no defense. They had decent defense back in the day, but it's really kind of dropped off. Their healing comes in handy quite substantially, and they're still a very highly offensive unit. They didn't really have any huge offensive changes as a unit. I think that's something people do need to note. So they didn't really have any major offensive changes or anything. So they always were still just a great offensive unit. I don't think that surprises how much they can go up from their EZA. Of course, a lot of people, I think, personally, look at this unit and they think that this is the kind of peak of EZAs. This is what all EZAs should be, and it is, to a certain degree true. Not all EZAs are equal, and I think these guys do tend to have a very good EZA, which I think is always nice to see. I don't think there's any issues with how their EZA is constructed. I think it is a fantastic EZA, and I do think that in general it's a very exciting EZA overall. I think yes, there could be more to them. I think people do also misunderstand. They are just raw defense at the end of the day. It's not like they are in any way, shape or form have damage reduction or anything, but their raw defense can get so high, I think, is the main thing. Obviously, it's also important to consider a lot of the showcases you see will be with big bad bosses max leveled, with a lot of links max leveled, will be with a lot of rainbow units, and these things do, to a certain extent, of course, matter, but they also just in general, if you have a 50% version of this unit that isn't link leveled, it is going to be quite a massive difference between a rainbow max link level unit. They benefit hugely from link leveling. They benefit big time from a lot of the systems that are present in those. Equip orbs, link leveling, the dupe system gives them a lot of stats. So yeah, in general they are I want to say a good unit, but just be careful. If you summon them at 55%, they're going to be good, but they're not going to be the overwhelming unit that you see a lot of people showcase them at, which isn't a bad thing. Obviously dupes are super important to how units grow, and are super important puzzle pieces to how much better a unit gets. But I do just want to kind of preface that I would state just to be careful. If you're a 55% owner, just be aware that it's it's not always guaranteed that you're going to see the monster everyone else is seeing. But overall, they are great. I think the kit is really good. I think it comes together super nicely. And obviously we managed to clear the event. We used the active skill with Trunks and Vegeta to help finish things off, which is super duper helpful. It was a little bit of a close call at certain points, but generally speaking, it was a fairly simple, fairly straightforward Extreme Z battle. Well, as straightforward as we can make them. Just remember what I told you, remember what I discussed in terms of team building, and you should be fine. If you are, of course, having any issues, you can leave a comment down below, but it is super important. It's a great way to get stones as well, so even if you don't have the unit, consider doing the Extreme Z battle. It is a great way to get stones, and it's going to help you out in the long run. But that's going to be it from me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, bye.